Recap Deadman, that happened. We're now back. It went pretty well. Not much of a recap. It went well. That's all I've really got to say about it. All right.
It was good fun.
How was your time in the States? Was it an enjoyable time?
It was a good time.
This sounds incredibly phony as a conversation, completely staged.
This is scripted.
It wasn't actually scripted.
Season's going well. We have a couple questions actually about the season we'll get to very shortly, but I guess in the meantime, first one's from JB. He says, if the new Entangle spell passes, can it be from a scroll gifted as a drop from Wilderness Slayer?
That's a one-off thing, you get it and you've got it forever?
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Or potentially a tradable scroll drop that you then go and sell to the people that want it.
I do like that.
Better. Tradable sounds better to me.
But from the wilderness?
Yeah, but from the wilderness.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. There was a gap for the spell, and as long as it's filled, it's possible.
Yeah. Makes sense. I know we have some plans as far as Wilderness Rejuvenation goes, but this seems something that probably shouldn't wait until we're able to offer that stuff.
Yeah.
So, makes sense. Earl says, can the Toggle Gem and Ore Shop stock one uncut Dragonstone with the price adjusted so that it costs roughly equivalent to 30 to 50k when trading in Chaos Runes for Toggle?
It's oddly specific.
Basically, should Iron Man have another way to obtain the Dragonstone?
We had a conversation when we were populating that gem store, and we intentionally chose not to add a Dragonstone, so I think we should probably stay away from it.
I didn't see a single yes in the chat.
No,
well, unlucky.
I saw one yes just then, but generally consensus is no, and I'm with those.
God says, is it possible to get a big shark from trading in Minnow?
No, just the edible sort.
Cheap Noodles asks, can you make the bank look wider when in full screen mode and be more located in the middle?
So if we made it wider and didn't also make it shorter, you'd run into the limit of how many items can be shown on screen at a time without the frame rate going through the floor. Because if it has to show too many, it hits the cache limit and you get an awful frame rate. So we just clamped how much of it you can ever see. And I think if we did make it wider, you'd very rapidly run into that limit.
Let's do the Ring of Paper suggestion. I didn't write this down because I thought it was a meme. Some people are actually serious about it.
I thought it was serious. I think it's a good idea.
I don't.
You don't? You don't? We've also got the Ring of Coins and the Ring of Bush. No, it's the Ring of what? It's the Ring of Nature. It turns you into a bush.
Yeah. Why?
My mind's gone.
So wait, what? Is this just a ring that turns you into a piece of paper? What? I don't.
So this was
it turns you into a clue scroll.
Completion, wasn't it?
Oh, is that okay? So there's actually a reason for it. I thought it was just do it.
The whole idea is because we have an untradeable reward for all the clue scrolls, and there are 100 that are generally clue scroll related. We don't really have one for master, and opened it up as pretty much a PDC for the next for some time in the future.
So from 100 masters, right?
So from 100 masters, we need an idea. We've got the God Spade. For the wieldable spade from, I think that's the easy one. You've got the wieldable treasure chest that you run like this with, and then you've got the wieldable clue scroll that you run around like a tourist with a map, basically. And you then have the emote. You have the emote where you turn into Yuri, and we don't have something for masters. So
yeah,
I think turning into a clue scroll is a bloody good idea.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, seeing as how we can already do that and have done so, it's one of the more difficult items to troll with because it really doesn't show up on the ground. It's kind of hard to see. So I was just thinking, it just seems
the Ring of AGS
a little underwhelming. Yeah, but I mean, if there's good reason for it to come from that, and there is obviously, then
we'll see what other ideas come in, and we're gonna give. I think we're gonna give the best 1 3-month membership.
Yep.
They want more leg slapping.
Speaking of which, something's dripping from my leg.
That just happened.
Don't like it.
Yeah, so 3 months of membership on offer to the winner of the PDC for 100 Master Key reward.
So send in your ideas, get them in. Whatever source you want to use, get them in. We can only give you the prize if we have your name as well, bear that in mind.
That's helpful.
I've got a question in the chat there from BX who says, thoughts on adding a crab boss with a raids expansion? What?
Well, you know there's laser crabs.
A crab boss.
What, just massive laser
What does
crab?
the crab boss do?
Everything. They might drop gems,
Everything,
actually.
alright.
Somebody was asking, very disappointed to find that the laser crabs room did not involve them dropping lots of gems.
The puzzles in that added more depth compared to just filling everything.
Oh, okay. Well, raids expansion and raids in general is obviously something that is on our minds very frequently. So, who knows? Maybe. I guess I can say to that.
You can always say maybe.
Yeah.
I'd
You
love,
say anything you please if you don't mind whether it's right or not.
I'd love to find time to add a few more rooms to the current raids as well.
If you've got ideas for mechanics which would work very well for crabs, then please give us those.
Yeah, the thing is, we could actually add random extra scenery to the crabs room that would be more things you have to bounce the beam around, and I think they would die.
Okay. The Juice Box says, can we rename the guy that speaks like an Australian in the Varrock Museum to Steve Irwin?
At present, he's Orlando Smith, I believe, which is a reference to Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Why are all of our NPCs references to like, okay, hang on, who is something Minnow?
Kylie Minogue.
Who is that?
Kylie Minogue.
I don't know who
Really?
that is.
You don't
She
know.
sings.
Australian
She
I
sings
don't
songs.
follow celebrities. How
Canadian or
What
not,
are you
how do
proud?
you not know
You
who
were
Kylie
proud
Minogue is?
of knowing who Kylie Minogue is. That's the concern I've got.
One
Well, no,
in the
like,
chat
who
if you
doesn't
know
know
who
who
Kylie
Kylie
Minogue
is?
is, two if you don't.
She was in Doctor Who.
She's also
was.
in
I don't
Neighbours
watch that.
originally.
That was the Doctor Who was
Good
the
lord.
peak of her career, I think.
Yeah, she started her career in Neighbours.
Anyway, could we rename the NPC?
I'm seeing a lot of twos in there.
Steve
strong.
Irwin, though, what a legend.
Okay.
Yeah, I think rather than renaming, maybe there's space for him to appear later on.
Tastefully. Respect
Yeah.
the man.
There's a question in here. I found it. There it is. Sneezy says, name the NPC who takes you to Fossil Island, Leontologist. So first name Leon, second name, or sorry, last name
I
Tologist,
see where this is going.
which means it would be pay Leontologist. You're the only one laughing.
Do you have to pay?
Did you know the name of the quest yet?
No.
I don't think so.
Well, you can enjoy the name of the quest when that comes out for the Fossil Island.
Are we going to say
That's,
it?
no, I'm going to find that out on launch.
Yeah.
That if they already know it, they'll spam it here.
Oh, they do now.
Yeah, they know it.
Oh, that's so predictable. All right.
It
Moving
took us
on.
a while to come up with that, and then Ash came up with it.
Well, I just dumped all my ideas. Voyage of the Damned was my preferred one, actually.
I think they do know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they know.
Yeah.
Say my name.
Cheap Noodles says, can you make the bank... Oh, sorry, just asked that one. Fizzmaster says, an upgrade was mentioned in a previous Q&A about buffing the... I always say this wrong. Is it Kiris? Kiris? Little
Calphite
dagger
weapon,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah, the dagger, the
Some
Calphite
Ridley
thing.
thing.
By attaching it to the end of a spear or a hasta. It sounded like a great idea and was well received. Would this still be on the table for maybe a future quest or idea?
So this was discussed before I joined the team. What was to go for? What, improved damage?
I think the idea was that if you stuck it on a long enough stick, you could attack the flying Calphite Queen with it.
Right, okay.
Also, yeah, they'd like the chance of it proccing the increased damage increased.
Fair play.
Well, I'm not averse to it. It's just something we haven't gotten around to yet. I mean,
Yeah.
we have lots
Yeah.
of requests for lots of different things. This is one of those.
Seems like something that should maybe have a piece of content to go alongside with it. I don't know if we could plan like a new, better Calphite boss, or maybe if we did new raids, we could do a new Calphite boss and it could drop that. Who knows? But it is an idea we're hanging on to. Nothing that has plans.
A very
At the
rare drop
moment.
from the Calphite Queen for people who've done contact. A Keris attachment stick.
Sure. They'll think of something.
Everyone's spamming crack the clue. We are currently seeking permission from Modpack K to give you one.
A clue.
Soon, hopefully.
Basically, tweet him and ask
Oh,
him
no.
if you can give a hint.
Now,
or
if
not.
he doesn't give one, they're gonna absolutely hate him.
He gets the hate anyway. He loves it.
Oh, is that why? Oh,
Moving
awesome.
on. Rot says, any chance of higher tier allotment crops for farming? Something such as eggplant, pumpkin, soybean, etc. I find it strange that the actual crop farming caps out at 47, with most of the higher level stuff just herbs and trees with some berries.
We've had the idea of expanding farming for quite a while on the backlog for potentially doing it at some point. I'd really like to offer even just snape grass as obviously an existing item
Oh yes.
at some point.
And there's some farming expansions coming with Fossil Island also.
Yeah.
In terms of eggplant, I'm not sure what they plan to do with it when they've got it.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's one of the other. That is a key thing. Like anything we do add with farming needs sort of to have a use.
Otherwise, you'll
Sounds
have Calquats again.
Sounds like a projectile, maybe a new weapon.
What do you do with calquats?
You chop them up and then you could put beer in them if you wanted to, but you don't.
Would we call it an eggplant, or would we give it its proper name?
We'd use the English
Oh,
name.
you call it
Aubergine.
right.
That's what an
don't call it
eggplant
that.
is.
That's what
Yeah.
eggplant is.
Yeah.
Now I know what an eggplant is.
I never
We will,
watched
yes, we will not call it eggplant. It'll be called aubergine.
What about all the emotes on the screen? You can see it.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what they're meant to look like?
Moving on. Question saying, Deadman seasonals Iron Man mode only to nerf clans. So we do have some Deadman discussion in here. I suppose we can kind of touch on this now. This is something that we actually, I believe we did try it, didn't we? We did try a Deadman where you couldn't trade. I think we ended up removing it after the first week because it simply wasn't working. There are so many ways to get around it, which are kind of unpreventable.
Yeah.
So people could still swap and all that.
We couldn't exactly remove the key mechanic because that's the whole point of the game mode. So people were just killing each other to transfer
And
items.
you gotta
around.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was we'd fix one method, they'd find another, we'd fix that, and it was just a constant back and forth, and we can never really block all of the way.
Yeah, and you got to remember, the majority of our players do not enjoy Iron Man content. They actually enjoy making money and then being able to exchange that money for something that they can buy. They don't have to go out and earn it. It's not something that would appeal to the majority of the community, I don't think. But we are in favor of considering changes for Deadman to appeal to solo players, obviously.
I suppose if we tried to mix some kind of Iron Man, Deadman thing, call it Rust Man, we could just flag everyone as an Iron Man whether they like it or not when they're playing on that mode, and then they could just not trade a lot. And no one would ever get a PVM kill.
All right. Fizz again says, could we get an update on how reworking brewing timers is coming along?
So, I assume they mean the farming timers which brewing works.
Yeah, I think it's farming/brewing timers. It says, it's about time we got an update to brewing, whether it be new ales or POH breweries.
Well, I'm not working on that. I have, on the other hand, been working on rewriting the entire farming timer system. It's coming on well, actually. It's passing my self-testing so far. And once I've documented it up, we can try and put the QA team on it and see if it actually works when tested by more than one person who's not actually a tester. I'm optimistic, but this is a whopping great big thing for them to test because, you know, if something's meant to happen every 10 hours or so and you want to see whether it does it right after, if you log in and out or not logging in and out, it takes a little while to find out. Anyway, I'll give them what help I can by making it, output to logs, giving an accelerated version. But the more stuff we insert to try and help them test faster, the less realistic it is as a simulation of what's actually going to happen. Now, it was suggested that what we could try and do is, launch it as a toggleable extra timer for you guys to try in a no-save world or something. Trouble is, if we try and operate two completely different farming timers at once, then we actually end up with something a lot more complicated than either of them. So I think we'd have more bugs from trying to put in the test than we would from just launching the rewrite I've done. Of course, we could always launch it and hope for the best. Depends how lucky you're feeling. Well, you're a tester, actually. I don't know what your views are on the matter.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
He's like, testing farming code is so bad, just launch it, just go.
Yeah, you guys just have at it. Say you to the grief.
Let's just launch it without QA and then make the players find the bugs.
I don't think that's a good approach for any game content.
But what happens when the players find the bugs? Anywho, so it's
We'll get around it.
Anyway, most of the programming's done. It's just that you want some other stuff done to it before it comes out.
Does that mean brewing will be easier after that to add to, or?
Doesn't affect that in the slightest, really. It just means it'll be a bit more predictable how long it'll take to brew.
Fair enough.
Because at the moment, if you go read a website about it, it says something like anywhere between half an hour and 2 days. And, that's... Whatever the developer intended, I'm damn sure that ain't it.
I would actually like at some point to go into brewing and add some extra things there. I think it really does need a rework, and it's a whole piece of content that's not used because it's just crap.
So the usability of it's pretty dodgy. The amount of things you have to use on a thing to do it and where they are is awkward.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the equivalent of a leprechaun.
No, not at all. I love the idea of like a brewery in your house, and basically like having your own pub in one of your rooms of your house.
I do too, actually.
I think that's such a cool
and maybe
idea.
even in RuneScape, quite apart from... yeah.
We've got an update on Crack the Clue.
Oh.
That's just teasing them.
No one's found it yet. Moving on.
The update is that the hint will be given next week.
Really?
Even
Okay.
Ash is upset.
Oh, we got them all excited.
One more week, guys. Feels bad, man.
Stop.
Don't blame me. Cap says, before you do anything else for PvP, such as adding more bosses to the wilderness, could you please try and improve PvP-only content we already have? So I'm actually obviously in favor of this, as are we, and it's something that we are looking to offer in the future. There are things being worked on, but his suggestion, which was introducing the EP system for PvP worlds in addition to full loot, with or without PvP armors, I don't know how that would do in a poll.
EP
system?
A potential system where you generate random loot instead.
Yeah, for those unfamiliar, essentially you could find somewhere in the wilderness ages ago and sit in hot zones, right? They were like non and then hot zones. And if you sat in this area risking at least a certain amount of money, you earned up earning potential. Once you hit like 50, 75, or 100%, you could then go and kill somebody and you'd get some great loot.
But this was abused.
Yeah.
This was abused a
It
lot.
was abused a lot.
If we were to do a system like that, we would obviously try and prevent the abuse stuff coming back.
Essentially, you just find 76k worth of junk.
Did PKers like that system? Did you like it when you did PKing
I mean,
in that?
yeah, because PKing was actually quite profitable.
I seem to remember rather a lot of videos of people not PKing in the slightest and just sitting there, hanging out together.
I remember like the top of Ardy Windmill was a popular spot or something.
Also, it was obviously hand in hand with the PvP armors and weapons, so a fan of those.
I mean, I'd love a way to say that we can make PvP profitable properly.
Yeah.
And it's something that we want to look
We
at.
definitely have ideas.
Yeah, we've had quite a few discussions about it and some really cool stuff that might make it into games someday.
Yeah.
If we were more able to track reliably whether you'd killed a given person recently, that's not something we can do at the moment, but if we could, we'd have a lot more options when it comes to giving rewards ever.
Yeah.
In addition, he was asking for more of a stance on ragging. That is something that we actually do actively take action on quite a bit. I don't know how frequently, maybe like once every couple of days or something. Somebody will send me something and we'll investigate, and less than often, I guess, that's not a saying, but every now and then somebody's actually just abusing players. I don't know, what player harassment,
It's
whatever we
something
title
need to be
it.
made aware of to take action as well. Like you
Yeah.
can't just be ranked and then expect something to happen. I don't know, magically. It's not the sort of thing you can get reporting on. You need to let us know that it's happening, and
Yeah.
we can investigate accordingly.
And a lot of players have a different definition of the word ragging. Somebody will be like, this guy hit me once, then teleported away. And I'm like, that's insignificant compared to people perhaps doing it to Iron Men who take 20 minutes to kill Court Beast, and somebody goes in dark bows it and then just leaves. Anyways, we do take action against people doing that. We have been for a very long time. It's not something that we're going to be actively tweeting out about naming and shaming people when they do it, though. Moving on. Random says, when pickpocketing and you run out of inventory space, can the loot start dropping to the floor?
There's going to be a lot of seeds around them master farmers.
It's not an idea I'm particularly fond of. Just clutter up everything and...
it makes pickpocketing targets that give you actual items a lot more viable. I can see one of them being like ham members for getting clues, and you just fill up your inventory until a clue drops, that sort of thing.
At which point you'd probably be able to get a lot more clues more easily because you just keep doing it and pick up a clue occasion to reset it. And
People
spam
saying
click.
it already does for some NPCs. I gather it doesn't for all, though.
The developers back in the older days would probably not have bothered putting on inventory space checks because when you go back to 2004, they just didn't as a rule. Then the developer who wrote Master Farmers, I think he did because it was the kind of thing he was really into. He also invented Confirm Destroy and a lot of the conventions that have become the rules since.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite forgiven him for some of it, and so there would be some inconsistency quite likely.
Yeah, I mean, I centralised the pickpocketing code not that long ago, and I had to handle the fact some of them have inventory checks and some of them don't. And I didn't really want to go and change any of the ones that didn't have an inventory check to suddenly start having one.
They would not have thanked you necessarily.
No, exactly. Feet off couch, according to the chat.
Yeah, it's awkward because of it being like a square couch rather than a curve.
Do you want to swap? I might have longer legs.
It's okay.
And more than
They're not your mother, you don't have to
There we
listen.
go. I'll listen to them. I'll behave. I'm sorry.
You've just given in.
You look very Yoda
Twitch chat,
actually when
time
you're
to do
sitting
something else.
cross-legged and hovering on a dark couch like this.
Quick, what should he do next?
Touch
moving
your
on.
beard if you see this.
Archie, not me, says, can Cerberus's firewall be fixed? Currently, if you teleport out of the room and nobody's in it, the firewall remains and you take damage coming back in for another trip. Suggestion is to have Cerberus reset to full HP and reset the firewall when someone leaves the room.
Sounds reasonable.
Could tie it to when Cerberus sits down or something, because it does that.
Pretty sure it should already be tied to that.
That would have been where we'd have put it, I suspect, although neither of us actually wrote that.
Can't remember.
Was it an intentional mechanic to deter returners, or is it just something that's there?
The firewall is meant to appear so that you can't run down the corridor and safe spot it.
Sure. Okay.
Because there's a too wide corridor and Cerberus is bigger than that, you would be able to just run down there and arrange it.
Certainly if Cerby discovers there's nobody in the room with it, the idea that it could make the fire go out and sit down and heal itself completely reset,
Yeah.
including defense debuffs. I don't see that being unfeasible.
No. I also don't see a problem with it not giving damage if you're walking from outside to in. If it just gives damage if you leave via, then I think we're alright as well.
Well, fire is fire. I don't mind if it's consistent with its temperature. Though it's a magic fire. The wizard did it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea. We've got an image for the next one, I believe. It says, allow us to make our characters fat. This was the top voted thread for the past few weeks.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys are proud of yourselves.
Matt did reply to it.
He
with
replied
much
very
the answer.
well, basically, in a lovely sarcastic way of, we could do this and spend all of the time for the next 4 years, basically, recreating every single model in the game to have different variants for thin and fat, and different variants of fat, and yeah, I think our time is much better spent elsewhere.
Maybe if they just played a different aspect ratio.
Stretch out your screens, yeah, that'll work.
Or like a fat suit clue reward or something.
They're saying it's worth 4 years of graphics time, so
I'm not
we
sure.
better go on with it.
Oh yes, because some people in Twitch said so.
Yeah.
Hey Twitch.
Well,
We pay, we
we're
fat.
a democratic game. Like they do lead the process.
All right. Lucron says, why does the Crystal Halberd not work at the Court Beast? All other halberds do 100% damage, like the spears, but the Crystal Halberd does not.
I had a look into that. I always talked to the dev who introduced the Court Beast to Old School, since he did remember some of that code. There's a specific check in there for the standard halberd category and also the spear category, but crystal ones are in a different category, which the same dev actually made, and either he left them out on purpose or he left them out by accident. Neither of us remembers. I don't really have a problem with putting them in, given that halberds generally work.
I'm pretty sure halberds don't work in the other game on the original
That was
code.
the other thing, though. I don't know why there's a halberd check in there. It's not obvious to me why I would want one.
I did look
It
in
does
the code
work for the Dragon
RuneScape.
Halberd, apparently.
And
It
Yeah,
does
it
work
does.
for the Dragon Halberd.
All halberds in game, apart from the crystal one, currently work against our co-op. But in RuneScape, they don't. None of the halberds do. So I don't know why it was added.
I don't either, but I cannot imagine that somebody wrote category is spear or category is polearm, that's what the halberd is, without really meaning it.
Yeah. I imagine there must have been a reason, probably due to the difference in weapons available in our game compared to RS3, so maybe making halberds work as well made sense.
Do you reckon somebody was trying to go for Hasta and got confused because they both begin with H?
Who knows? But
is,
I mean, I wouldn't exactly have a problem with the crystal halberd
Yeah,
work.
I don't see any issues.
Given that the dragon one does, I don't have a problem with the crystal
Yeah.
one doing. And as for the other ones, I've never seen anybody with one.
There's a comment there on our YouTube chat actually saying they're only taking Twitch questions. We are taking both questions. We're also streaming to YouTube. Twitch versus YouTube. Every time. Speaking of questions from the chat, Senpai says, can you move or delete the tree that blocks ladder for Taverley Dungeon?
It's just the dead, when you're running from Fallow, you'll have to run around because it's a bloody dead tree in the way.
I
Yeah.
think that's what they were talking about.
That's part of the authentic old school experience, and remain. That tree will remain.
How about we move the trapdoor then?
Kieran's going to go into game and chain himself to the tree so nothing can be done to it.
No, I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to
We
remove.
could give it a hug option for those people who want to finish off the midsummer event. Then you'll have more options.
Can you turn it into one of those trees that attacks you and kind of stops you from running?
I'd say count yourself lucky to want 2 of them.
Yeah.
That'd be the
That'd be great.
The answer to Chris's question is we could, and we haven't, and I hope you thank us.
It looks like we've got some data.
Yeah, so there have been quite a few people who've been asking for the pet rate for the fishing pet from minnows, and it is 1 in 977,778 per catch.
Why?
At any level, does not scale.
Yeah.
Where did that number come from, please?
It comes from a magic spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yeah. It was basically takes into account how many you can catch per hour and scales of
Is that per minnow or per catch?
That's per catch.
Because you get a batch of minnows per catch, don't you?
Yeah, so it's not per minnow, it's per catch of, which I believe is like 9 to 14 that you can get, something like that.
You catch them bloody quick though, don't you?
Yeah, so it's obviously
that's why
a
it's
really,
rarer.
really, really high rate because you catch them faster than basically anything else.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Johnny says, currently the Rift Guardian pet has a different placeholder for each color. Can we combine this so it doesn't take up multiple slots?
All the other pets in multiple forms do. I guess that one wasn't.
Oops.
Oh well. Whoopsie. It's not actually that easy to combine them after launch because people have all the variants in their bank now. But
Just delete
we've
them.
done it. Yeah, just delete them, he says. Just make me a 5-minute video with lots of special effects. Anyway, so yes, we can. We've done it before. It just took a little while and wasn't quite as easy as just delete them.
All right. Question from the chat. Nick says, safe PvP worlds learn how to PK. Oh, we had this discussion not long ago, a couple weeks ago. I am in favor of introducing ways for people to feel more safe with learning how to PvP.
You sent me, I think it was you, sent the suggestion about some sort of tutorial to PKing and mechanics and stuff like that. Was it
Yeah.
you? I don't know.
It wasn't me.
That was Tom.
It was from Tom, yeah.
Yeah, I'd
Which-
suggest kill them and don't die is the tutorial.
Yeah, good.
We need like a whole list of wilderness etiquette in Valley of the World. Because it's the wilderness, the great dangerous wilderness where you just go in and slay people. No, you just ate food at the wrong time, sir. You cannot do that.
In the UK worlds, we pass on the left, and in the US worlds, we pass on the right.
Like there are a whole host of etiquette rules in the wilderness that any new guy's not going to have a clue what's going on.
Right. So in summary, we do want to introduce a way. I don't know if we can say something like duel tournaments or something. We're not going to say you have to just go to the duel arena, gear up, and hope to find somebody else there who also wants to do the same thing. That's unrealistic. But you know, we'll think of something. Like I said, we've got plenty of wilderness/PvP updates and ideas. we'll see them soon enough.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's waiting for the right time to share them.
Yeah.
But they're there.
Right, moving on. Dirt says,
So speaking of PvP worlds briefly, you know we put up an Australian seasonal Deadman world today, which gives us the opportunity when it stops being a seasonal Deadman world at the end of the season for it to be something else. It would be interesting to see maybe a PvP world there.
Yeah.
There's been a few requests for a PvP Australian world, so yeah, I think that'd go down well.
There are requests also for a bounty world there, which wouldn't have to take away from the other standard ones. Trouble with that is that a bounty hunter really only works if it's got a fair bit of traffic at all times of day, and if you put one in that time zone where not many others are going to be connecting to it, I'm not sure how well it'll work out.
yeah, I'm not a fan of that idea, personally. Dirt says, can we get a way to get Kylie Minogue's golden angler set?
Go tweet Modrock because he didn't want this. He said no, so go spam his Twitter, Modrock. He didn't want it. Blame him.
We had a meeting to kind of decide the poll, and I think this was joked about, but there was some very vocal opposition to it.
I did say that they would ask for it. I knew you guys would want it. If I had it my way, I'd have just put it in, trade in a load of minnows to get it.
This is just going to be like graceful all over again. We're going to enter 24 different coloured sets. Of
I can see the
fishing
argument
outfits.
against. I'm not a fan of recolors personally, but a golden set sounds kind of cool, to be honest. So
It does feel a bit like some kind of, I don't know, storm cheetah thing in that shade of yellow it's got. Like you just see somebody on the deck of a ship wearing that in really bad weather.
Yes.
I don't know how many people would be interested, maybe.
let's gather the Twitch chat's opinion. Let's just say recolors, yes or no in the chat. All right, moving on. Robert says, I just hit XP cap and I've only gained 725k XP.
Ah, that player. I think you talked to him earlier.
Yes, so essentially quests are in a weird state with respect to the cap. When you get a quest XP reward, they don't actually have a check to say, you've already capped, give no XP. So when you get that XP, on one day, let's say on day one where there's a million cap, you can go up to say 1.2 million. But the next day, when you start gaining normal XP again, that's going to cap you at 2 million. It doesn't remember that 250k of that was quest XP in order to say, no, that's something that was quest XP, it doesn't matter, we don't have to account that. So, also, we changed a bit of the code around to fix an issue that affected the range XP being offered at a much higher rate last Saturday. And essentially, quest XP was not being totted up as we went along, and now it sort of is. So it's hard to explain because I haven't got the code to show you and see what's happened. So yeah, essentially it is working as intended. Like, you shouldn't be able to get
Broken Kieran.
He's got a degree in maths.
So I will have to edit I'll edit the devlog and I'll edit the actual list of season changes as well to kind of to specify what Kieran's talking about when he explains it to me in a simple way. So we can do that as a compromise.
if the cap is 1 million and you get to 1 million through normal means, and then you go and do a quest that gives you 20k attack XP, it will let you get that attack XP. The next day, you will still be capped at 2 million. That's how it works now.
Cool.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah, I'll edit the changes accordingly.
A comment to clarify, this is obviously just for Deadman. This would be very confusing if you didn't know what Deadman was.
Yeah.
If you hover over the little skull now on Deadman, it tells you your XP to the cap, and that should give you a better idea what's going on.
All right, next question. Name says, give us the ability to lock the form of the rune crafting pet so it won't change if you want to make a different rune.
That seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, it's a suggestion I really like.
Maybe you just talk to him and tell him, stop changing! And then
Never
then he
change.
won't. Yeah.
You're perfect as you are.
Maybe you have to... Yeah, never mind, actually. Moving on. They'll never know.
I think that's my favourite pet, to be honest. The Rift Guardian, I really like him.
Yum says, reasoning behind making the mining guild a safe zone in player vs. player worlds. Today's update made 2-tick iron not possible anymore.
So what was the motivation behind fixing it, I'm guessing? I imagine it was to, I can't confirm this, I imagine it was to deter the 2-tick.
I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, I honestly, this is, I believe, Mod Ed that changed it, so I don't know.
He didn't tell me.
Cool. We can chase it
But
up.
I didn't ask.
Yeah, we can chase it up and try and give you an answer after.
Okay, let's follow that one up. Princess says, can it be made so that the client always loads in the size of a fixed mode screen? It's a pain to resize every time you load the client.
Is that one web or engine?
I don't know.
Me neither. But neither answer is very good for quick requests.
I would love that. In fact, I'd love to be able to just edit a file and say you want it open in this resolution or this resolution. Like, both for obviously loading it with just the fixed screen or for video makers, they want it in a specific resolution for in resizable, all that stuff, like, is helpful. And I understand it's a little frustrating having to resize it if you just close it and open it again. But I can't promise that'll ever happen at any time soon.
All right. Question from the chat then. Nasty says, Morning's End Part 3 and Priff to Old School RuneScape. You tweeted asking for new quest ideas, but I haven't seen feedback.
Were there any ideas for those, or just titles? or did they mean just copy RS3's quests into Old School? Because that we would not do.
So I want to add a new puzzle that's in 4 dimensions.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That would be freaky. And I look forward to seeing your map.
I think we're better positioned in Old School to kind of branch off and create content that they don't have in RS3 rather than trying to bring what they have into our game. So things like Zaya and, maybe adding more quests there, like people have said, continuing the Xeric storyline, things like that, rather than just sort of retreading the same old steps.
We are well aware that there's an increasing demand for quests, and we have plans for some in the future.
But not by just trying to recreate RS3's exact content, graphic by graphic. Sorry, remaking all their graphics is a huge job for us, because we can't just copy them across. And even though we can copy a lot of their code, that's not the slow bit of making a quest. So we would never offer to do it for that kind of thing. We managed to corp. It took weeks, and it's only got, 10 models, 11 models? The corp and some swirly thingies come out of it, and a dark core. Given how long that took, we wouldn't even be able to begin trying something like Priff did us.
Yeah, as far as ideas for new quests go, I've heard some much, much better ideas from people on the team. So, unfortunate. Moving on. PK or Lure, can players that are far behind in Deadman get some sort of experience boost?
We hope that the whole combat XP cap system we've got in place now would really aid on this front, as you'd be able to realistically catch up. Obviously, that cap is probably still fairly far ahead if you're 10 million XP behind joining in 10 days after.
It's a high cap.
Yeah.
I mean, given the way quests work, as has been pointed out, it's probably for the best it wasn't a very low one. But I've seen it suggested that we could have got away with a smaller cap.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously what we don't want to do is make it so easy for someone who, doesn't play for the first 10 days to come in and suddenly catch up to everyone in 1 day's worth of playing, There needs to still be advantages for people who regularly play. The cap was to try and get that, play each day, get your cap each day, and you'll kind of get a bit of a head start, get to access content earlier than someone who just hits the 10 mil cap on day 10.
Yeah, the other thing is obviously getting a 1 mil XP cap on the first day is a lot harder than getting a 1 mil XP cap 15 days in, and potentially we could look at a more curved a curve on the XP cap increase rather than a flat 1 mil a day, or 200k a day for the first week and then 500k a day for the second week sort of thing. And maybe that'll make a difference. I've seen another idea about if you're far away from capping, getting a better XP rate that scales down until you cap. There's a bunch of ideas, but we'll see how the tournament's carrying on.
This is all alongside the 6-hour immunity that will launch on Saturday at midnight. Also, we've got higher XP rates for lower level, which the XP rate is very fast, and then it gets slower when you hit level 50. So I think the two of those combined should be quite beneficial for new players.
Yeah. The Saturday at midnight is the midnight between Friday and Saturday, yeah? Cool. I always wonder about that description.
12:01, generally the best way to describe it, I think.
All right. Nisu says, can we get some data on the Zulrah nerf?
What data?
Yeah, what data do they want?
Some data.
Well, I obviously haven't got the numbers to hand, but I was looking through the data of like how many Zulrahs are being killed in comparison to before, and it's down about 40% on what it was before. And down 40% is pretty much what it was in 2015. So it was killed substantially more throughout latter half of 2016, but 40%. I mean, Zulrah still killed so much more than pretty much every other boss. There's still a whole lot of people doing Zulrah, and it's still got a place in this game, very much so.
It's still killed more than any other boss.
Well, it's got no
Significantly,
rating, see. There's relatively few bosses out there, apart from it and the Kraken, where people don't like to go the instance very much anyway. So Zulrah's
And it's
one
solo.
boss, no waiting.
Don't need a team either.
Interesting.
Just go in. But it's still powerful. The drops are still good. They're just not ridiculously good.
I think we're fairly happy that it's fallen into where we were wanting it to go.
Yeah.
Did we identify what it was in late 2016 that made that difference? Because we noticed that two things around that point. Firstly, somebody buffed the rare drop table, or made the ring above considerably more useful than it was. And since Zulrah's got a fairly high chance of going to that list, it made a disproportionate impact on Zulrah. Secondly, we launched a new Iron Man mode, which involved a lot more Iron people coming in the game, and they benefited a lot from there being a profit snake spaffing out high-level skilling resources with no skilling requirements. I assumed it was a combination of these things.
When was Zulrah released again?
January 2015. It was the first update of the calendar year to kick off 2015.
I remember some posts on Reddit about all the different names for Prophet Snake, like
Profits.
You mean for Zulrah? Like Prophet Snake?
affluent. There was something. Oh no! There was an affluent something that was good. They had all that, like Penny Python and
Affluent adder.
yeah, something like that. Coinage Cobra, like Anaconda. That was it. Affluent Anaconda, not adder.
Yeah, Anaconda's a little bit bigger.
All right. Gareth says, can Commander Zillion account as a spiritual creature when on a Slayer task, like the greater demons and Aviancies do?
The member of Mammon.
She's not a spiritual creature, though.
Isn't she?
Nope, she's an Aviancy, right?
Yeah.
And they're spiritual creatures.
Yeah? Maybe.
Oh no, she's Nicene. That's it, she's Nicene, not an Aviancy.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
All these weird words we made up over the years.
Zilliana, yeah.
Yeah. They ain't nothing like her.
Wow, 2 people in the chat knew that. Well
Not
done.
since Ifarate, I think.
I still don't really know what a Nicene is.
Nobody does.
Big flappy people.
There we go.
People with wings.
That's it.
Okay. Joey says, are there any upcoming updates to Zaya?
Oh yes.
Yes. But we're not going to tell you yet.
You know you wanted more storyline.
Moo says, can we get an in-game item that we could buy to use high alch on stuff while we're on a different spellbook on Slayer tasks, like a tab or jewelry, not the Explorer's Ring?
I can see why they want it.
We actually tried to make one a long time ago, alchemy tablets. In fact, there used to be some commented out code in the POH script for making them, and then the developer found that he couldn't make them work.
Really?
Well, yeah, if you use a tablet on an arbitrary item, and that item has code for using things on it already, you'd have to try to check for the tablet into every single one of them, and this was
bloody hell.
reasonably deemed unfeasible. So that was never made available to players, but we did try.
Using an item on the tablet would work.
It would.
Or
And
could
also,
we-
if we ever get to change the main inventory panel into an IFI 3, that's the newer format of interface style from 2006 onwards, converting the inventory is not something you do lightly, and it's not something we can offer right now. But if we did that, we would then be able to tie in global things like use the tablet on anything and make it work reliably. But we'd have to do that first.
Or we could go through and add default to every single upheld you trigger.
Would it
You
be
go first.
easier to have a left click break up on the tab and then have that tie into the standard alchemy smelt code? As opposed to using a tablet on anything, so
You'd be able to open the same interface the Explorer's Ring does now.
That's how we go about it if we tried to do it that
Yeah.
way. And I think you wouldn't find the usability all that nice, but you'd be all right.
Not in the middle of a slay task when you want to be in combat and just go boop boop.
Yeah, I mean, for the Explorer's Ring, I think we made it overlay style rather than modal style so that you could use it during combat.
Yeah.
And that worked out rather well, I think. It wasn't quite what some people expected, of course, but it had its benefits.
Anyway, people didn't really want it. They all spammed no.
Really? We've been just chatting about it and no one cares.
They asked a question, they got an answer. A lot of it.
Employee says, can we have a use for the unidentified minerals after the gloves are achieved? I have over 1K in the bank, and it's a little demoralizing knowing that I can't do anything with them. I did have a few ideas.
Shop.
Yeah, I guess some sort of shop to buy or other things, whatever you want.
I like that.
Somebody suggested a shop in which you could use the minerals to buy ores. I wasn't a fan of this because you're already mining ores at a faster rate there, and then you're being able to use the minerals you get to buy more ores, and then all of a sudden there's a hell of a lot of ores in game.
Yeah. Okay, so what else could we offer in?
I don't know. That's what.
I said just shoot down the suggestion, but don't offer anything else.
He did ask that idea. He also said an iron bag, similar to the coal bag, or potentially trade 1,000 minerals for a roll on the pet drop table.
Ooh. Spicy.
Yeah, someone had a request for more Dragonstone sources earlier.
Yeah, I mean the trouble with the sort of the roll on the pet thing is once you've got the pet, you've still then got no use for minerals afterwards. It kind of needs to be something that you can keep using minerals for.
Did we give out Prospector Percy's outfit ever? Because the mining outfit you get from him looks nothing like him. He looks like a beloved Pixar character.
The thing is, if it's still a one-time purchase, people are going to be getting them forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if your
Maybe.
herbal level's high enough, you'll be able to identify them?
Rent access to a private mine, where you have to keep paying per thing you mine in it.
That's not so bad.
That could work.
That's a good idea. And you go in there, there's a couple of rune rocks and stuff like that.
Some support for that in the chat. All right, moving on.
They want a Mario outfit.
Where are we going to? Bum says, can we get a Slayer task perk so metal dragons drop noted metal bars on task, just like the mithril dragons unlock?
Probably seems reasonable.
Sorry, say that again.
Slayer perk so metal dragons drop noted metal bars, similar to the mithril dragons unlock.
So another unlock.
We already do that via a diary.
Diaries, yeah.
Do we?
That's why this only applies to mithril dragons in the unlock. Because the
That's right.
diaries don't apply to mithril dragons.
Yeah. So he's asking for just a Slayer perk, I suppose.
I don't
To replace the diary benefit.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Do your diary,
Yeah.
basically.
Fair. Kaleidoscope says, could we get more cactus patches? At the moment, there's only one.
I'd be alright with that.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
We could even try and take the existing one, which I'm pretty sure has spare Varbit space, and let you do something special that gets you a double cactus with more prickles on.
Oh, does the diary require 91 rune crafting? That's quite the requirement.
We could pull moving it to hard rather than elite as well.
I'd be up for that.
Yeah. But we'll look at the requirements and maybe find the best one for it.
Question in the chat. Dude says, do you like the idea of blessed food? Food that restores hit points as well as maybe 2 to 3 prayer points.
Not particularly.
No, never do I.
Yeah, I'm not sold either.
I'd love to see the chat just turn around and say
The main
yes.
thing is I don't really get the point in it.
No.
Like,
Someone said yes, but everyone else didn't.
Yeah.
This is contrarian.
And it's not clear what that person was talking about anyway.
All right.
I mean, if it's to kind of entertain the idea, if it's only recovering 2 or 3 prayer points at a time, it doesn't strike me as particularly useful. In which case, if it's not very useful, you're only going to be using food or prayer in like a training scenario, either praying or you're eating. So have something that does both. I don't see the need for it.
It sounds vaguely familiar to barbarian potions, which are just the other way around. They give a potion benefit, like prayer, for example, or something else, and then a bit of healing, 3 or 6 health.
Yeah.
And like on top of that, they made the potions only 2 doses rather than 4. And what do you get? Something that no one bloody wants to use.
So it was suggested earlier today that we considered letting them go up to 4 doses, because in the hope that it might make them useful. I don't personally think it would do it even then.
No,
They're just too much hassle for making as well compared to...
We have spent more time dealing with barbarian potion code than players have spent dealing with barbarian potions themselves.
We can make them destroy on completion, so that once you've made one, it just deletes itself. Like, do Herblore, like a barbarian, where the potion just vanishes.
We're going to the next
But I
question.
wouldn't mind actually making them 4 doses. So if people would actually, at least then they wouldn't be completely unusable.
If they were going to be used, then sure. Maybe if they would.
If we give them the ability to make them 4 doses, would it be justifiable to say they're untradeable at that point? Or make them
I wouldn't
tradable?
mind if they're tradable. Like, you'd buy your prayer potion, it comes through for a bit of health instead of just being a prayer potion.
If they were made 4 doses and untradeable, then people would split them into 2 times 2 doses, trade them, and then have to recombine them at the other end.
Right.
So we'd just be kind of being frustrating.
But honestly, there's a bit of me that just wants to leave them alone. I don't know. Who knows?
Okay.
Do you kind of delete their code when you do all the other potions?
All the drinking is centralised now, including them.
Bloody hell.
Next question. Next says, ability to use teleport feature of the catacombs without using ancient shards. Not many people, if any, use that feature because ancient shards are hard to come by.
Would it then become a handy way of getting around Zaya quickly? Like, is there an outlet in the Piscavilius area that would become a teleport to that from elsewhere on Zaya?
As far as I'm aware, they're intentionally hard to come by because we didn't want to provide such a convenient way of accessing catacombs.
I suppose that would have been the thought. And yet, access around Zaya isn't something I'd mind improving.
We've discussed it and we'd like to do it, but so we were asked earlier, have we got more plans with Zaya? Yes, we do, but it isn't something we just want to force straight away. We'd rather introduce new ways of travelling around with new content.
In
What about-
the discussion we had about sort of what things we want to do, there are different transport methods that we could potentially look into.
Like canoes.
Canoes,
Somebody
everyone
suggested
loves canoes.
paying many of them for a one-time fee and being able to travel permanently. What do you think of that?
No, I'm not a fan of converting too much stuff into just one-time fees because then the items loses purpose for after that a bit.
The gem, those shards still have a load of purpose because they're used for the arc light as well. And that's mainly
There is
why people
that.
don't want to spend them on the teleports, because they're better spent on that.
I do believe the arc light would make them remain useful regardless of what happens with the teleports. So the one-off fee wouldn't bother me so much as it would if it didn't have the other use.
All right.
Don't
Could
really
lower
mind.
the cost per teleport.
Yes, we could do that.
Seems like a quick, easy solution to drop it down by a significant amount to make it more viable.
Kind of controversial, but at the same time, not seeing really any support. So maybe something that needs to be looked at further before we consider it. Anyways, next question. Justice says, we get some sort of log detailing which unique treasure trail items we've received.
I think we do like that idea. It's come up before. There's a lot of stuff to track there, though.
Yeah.
Part of something John is working on, right?
I think
Oh, John is looking at like essentially an overall drop log for bosses. So counting up like how many bandit tacits you've had or how many dragon full helms and all that stuff.
I'm not clear how far he was able to get with that.
Not sure, but it's something he was looking at doing. In
I know
his
he
tap
wanted
time.
to move it into a lot more stuff as well as just bosses as well. So
Yeah, that'd be really cool for
it's a
barrels.
lot of data to track.
Oh, yes.
It is.
And yet, if it's just remembering which ones you've had once, that becomes a lot simpler than remembering they've had 1,000 of this
Oh,
one and
yeah.
3 of that one.
Yeah.
So if they'd be willing to accept this rather than the other thing, like, I'm not sure just how many people need to know that they got 6 of this type of Bob T-shirt, 5 of this type of Bob T-shirt, 7 of the gilded monk robe. That doesn't seem useful to me. Whereas remembering you've had one,
Ticking
feels
them
quite
off.
nice.
I like that. Like, you provide a huge interface and you light up the ones they've had before and that sort of thing. That'd be cool.
Especially they can try and do them in a pattern that draws real pictures.
Question,
No one needs to know they've had 12 U combos. So.
question asking if this would be for retro. I assume this would just be going forward.
Yeah, we can never, trawl their entire account history and find out whether, at some point in 2014 they got one of those. We're not going to be able to do that.
All right. Next question then. Ty says, can we make the Torag's hammers work like a higher tiered event RPG? So this would essentially mean that it would be like a strong, fast-paced melee weapon, which I don't think there is in the game yet. Apart from the event RPG, which isn't actually a weapon. There's a couple
know what to
yeses
say.
in there.
People use the event RPG at level 1, right?
Yeah.
Or level 3 because it's faster than just punching. I don't really see how this works at level 70. Because still, you would go and put on a whip, surely. Like, I don't see how it's ever going to be better. I mean,
But this looks way cooler.
it does, don't get me wrong. But we could make it have a really fast attack rate, but it's still not going to be the best. Because we're
would
not going to
have-
rebalance it to be the best,
It would
are
have
we?
other uses, actually. That'd be quite useful for PvP.
If it was useful for like being one of the fastest weapons, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like in Deadman, you can use darts to prevent somebody from banking.
That's
but
true.
if you had Torag's hammers, hey,
You look a lot cooler than throwing.
you're like playing the drums.
Yeah.
Now I want to see someone smithing with them. And
I mean,
getting
the
a faster
thing I want to
weapon.
do is do 2 hit splats. Do you need to do 2 hit splats with Torag?
That's the same damage, though. That's the same thing. See, as soon as I say that, it's like drums. They're like, oh my god, yes.
I was saying one-tick hammers. It would look unreal.
One-tick hammers would be ridiculous.
The damage wouldn't be increased. It'd be the same damage
Right.
like per hour.
Running.
But,
Drum solo.
yeah. I want to see this happen. Next question then. Something we touched on earlier. El Chapo says, can seasonal Deadman be hotfixed to 500k XP per day to substantially improve the seasonal length while there is still time?
I'm not sure changing the cap several days in is, especially that way, is going to work out so good.
That's definitely something I think we can look into for future seasons as we keep adjusting to try and, hit the perfect formula. But
We could make it 500k a day from now onwards,
Yeah,
including the cap that's already taken place.
yeah, but I wouldn't want to just blanket take the whole thing
Yeah.
down. Because people would already be on the high number.
We're going to get a straw poll in the chat then for that Torag's Hammers question because we haven't had one yet today and it's an interesting topic. So what speed would we move it to then? What is the event
What speed
RPG?
is it now?
Slow.
Why
It's
is it slower? You got dual
Well, no,
wield.
it's like, is it DSim speed? No. Is it? I honestly, like, who's ever used them? Like, genuinely. Regardless, let's just say faster.
Like 2000 on launch, I bought myself a pair of hammers because that's the only arrows weapon I could afford. So I used them then.
Someone said magic short bow rapid speed. I'd agree. That's pretty quick.
Well, it might be used.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I'm not sure what speed the question indicates, but just assume that the yes option is magic short bow.
As long as we
rapid
can
speed.
also half the damage and show it in 2 different hit splits.
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
By the way, the player in the chat who was asking about having a bank full of dog-shoe light bulbs and not being able to get rid of them because he can't banknote them, just turn on the incinerator, it's in the bank options, and drag the stack of them into that, and then they'll go away.
1 tick.
So the question says, should we make it 1 tick? No, not
Really?
1 tick. That's
We
way
didn't intend for
too
that.
quick.
But if you're interested, it's now 91% saying yes.
91% people
don't
voted
get me
yes
wrong,
for
we
that.
could, right? Happily, Mod Rock put the speed in the chat currently, it's 5, so we'd divide the current damage by 5 and do it every cycle.
Let's go for like a 2 or 3.
I think two. I think
tick.
2
Okay.
would be reasonable.
2 ticks
So it'd be
fine.
2 tick. Is that magic sharp?
Does the
one
anim actually use both hammers? For some reason I've got it
Yes,
in my
it
head
does.
that you just go like this.
No, it does.
It seems very RuneScape that you just hold one hammer and then use the other one. Isn't that what claws do?
Really?
No.
No, when you use claws
one
out of a
claw.
spec, you just go.
Yes, just one claw.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Rune and below do not have a spec. Or does RuneClaw have a spec?
No.
Don't think so, no. So, yeah,
Anyway,
you've got
bronze
dual
claws, you wield 2 and you just go
Wow.
like a cat, and that's it. Your left hand, you just like the 2, you do nothing with one of them.
Okay. Regardless, we are going to consider making the
I
Torag's
thought it
hammers
did.
faster. There you go. Not higher DPS, obviously, but interesting. We can get in a couple more questions real quick. Reintroduce the option to eat/drink while in the bank interface.
Did it before. Should be able to do it again. The tricky bit is making the bank able to recognise all the things that you could eat or drink, because there isn't a very good pattern for it to just pick up on that. Should be possible though.
Okay. I was going to say why people saying no. Then somebody
Deadman.
said that'd be way too strong in Deadman. Very
That's
true.
a fair reason not to do it.
Also, I was just thinking like the amount of times I've run to the bank while poisoned and then died because I didn't get something out in time.
Yeah. I prefer the equipping stuff in the
values
bank. I think
my-
that's more useful.
that's part of old school.
Yeah, last question real quick. Let's grab this one. If Shackle, that's the new stronger entangle, passes a poll, how would you like to introduce it to the game? Did we like the idea earlier?
The
What was
wilderness.
Yeah,
There's
a scroll from the wilderness.
Yeah, I really like that.
I was keen on it.
Would you prefer from like a boss or from the bounty hunter shop?
I prefer from Wilderness Slayer.
Yeah,
That was the suggestion.
Okay.
It wasn't a stay.
yeah, wilderness slayer.
Okay,
And it would be a tradable scroll that you can then go and sell to people who want the spell.
sounds good. A couple of quick last second mentions, guys. The summer special is still going on. That is buy 3 months membership for the price of 2. In addition, the autumn season Deadman Invitational tickets, aka RuneFest tickets, as it's being hosted there, are still on sale as well. A few of those left if you want to join us at RuneFest. Obviously, the season is going live right now. You got to take part. Get in the top 2K. #sellout. That's it. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.
Right.
See you
Bye.
later.